Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Logic and Reason, and I'm your host, Evo Primo. I'm joined by
Melissa.
All right, so as usual, usually this happens anytime that we think that we have a chill morning. Twitter shows you that you're not. So recently, we have seen the latest, I guess, news, if you want to call it news, of Chris Rock's special releasing on Netflix. We actually had the privilege, or unfortunate circumstance, depending on how you look at it, of watching Chris Rock live when he came to Houston. And so a lot of the jokes that were featured in the special were the jokes that we heard in person. And so we're going to speak on that. We are going to speak about some of the comments that we saw on Twitter that were interesting. And then, of course, offer our commentary. So the initial thoughts when Chris Rock came to Houston is I thought his work was funny within the context of TV and film. And so I had no real concept of his stand-up. So I was excited to see, this is interesting. And I figured he would have some good content to work off of because of what happened at the Oscars. And of course, as expected, he did touch on a lot of the things that happened at the Oscars. I figured that's part of the reason why he didn't make any public comments at the time, because he was saving it for his comedy special. It's a good business move, right? No problem there. What the unfortunate part that I would take away from that experience is the fact that he came off as a panderer to white people. His jokes were not funny. To add a little bit more context to the audience, at least the audience that we were around, it was predominantly white, which is saying a lot. Being in the city of Houston, it's a minority city, and the actual arena itself is not out of reach of a lot of black people. We saw vast majority of black folks pack up that stadium when Earth, Wind, and Fire came in town. So it wasn't like this was just some obscure place like in the Woodlands or something. So it was interesting. That was my first observation. I was like, it's not a big deal. But as the show progressed, I did see a lot of black people walk out, as he started saying his jokes. And it's unfortunate because there were actually some good moments in there. But they were overshadowed by I guess some people would categorize it as racist stuff. What is your take on that?
Well, I think some of them definitely are racially insensitive, and some of them just aren't funny. So some of them were not funny at the time to me. I, like you, had also seen Chris Rock more in the TV and movie arena. I think something, you mentioned it was Adam Sandler, with Grown Ups. And I thought, okay, he's a great actor. He's funny, but I think maybe I confused a written character that he played versus that being able to be translated on stage for a live comedy special. So I do agree. He was trying to appeal to, I guess, a white audience, or what they would think is funny, and they see him saying it, and maybe they thought, okay, that they'll laugh about it too. And I think sometimes people don't know. You're tone deaf to what you don't know. It's not an attack on you. So, knowing the black people who left, really, they didn't seem, there was no, anger. People you could see they were just quietly picking their bags up and then, walking out, the black couples, older black couples, because it's just things that have been historically in the United States used. I'm trying to remember some of the jokes because it was long ago at this point, but used to stereotype black people. Yeah,
that's where, I guess in some of the comments that we've seen, the minstrel show is in reference to that. So, speaking of those comments, we can get into a little bit of those. At first, we would like to take this opportunity to tell people to hit that subscribe button and the like button.
Absolutely, like and subscribe.
And so, obviously, that goes without saying.
We appreciate our viewers. Thank you.
Yes. All right, so here's some of the tweets. Let's take a look at them. So Dennis says, the most Chris Rock thing about all of this is him screaming that you don't fight in front of white people, but not even considering what it means to make jokes about black women and their hair in front of white people. I think this is in reference to the joke that he made at the Oscars. To be fair, I didn't think that joke was that big of a deal.
Wearing green as army attire, so
yes, I don't know.
I think that was an appropriate joke at that moment because of it is film. You're at a film awards ceremony.
Yeah.
And so you should be versed in different films and know that's where the joke came from. Unless I don't know why people are there, just the attention. I don't know.
Yeah. So yeah, that the alopecia thing seems to be a really big issue. There's a senator that wears a headscarf, right? And people are looking at him weird and saying, making comments about, hey, he's a man. Why is he wearing this headscarf thing? And he's wearing it because he had cancer, and people were like, hey, let him do his thing. He didn't really care. And quite frankly, I don't even know if Jada really even cared about that comment because, for one, we didn't see a lot of her reaction. We saw her face change, but that doesn't really mean anything. That could have just been she just got done smiling, right? Yeah. So we don't really know because the camera wasn't on her; it was on Chris Rock at the time.
Yeah.
But she's not the one that got up on stage.
No.
And she was so outraged with the comment. So yeah, I don't know.
But that looked at Will. So maybe a silent, "I want you to do something." I don't think she wanted him to do that, but.
And do what?
Exactly.
It's a show.
It is a show, and it's a comedy show. And you sat.
And comedians make fun of people in the audience.
And they make fun of people in the audience when you're sitting that close as well. So
Absolutely.
You had to have known you were a target, and you had been doing things that put yourself and your personal life in the spotlight. So they really were lucky he hadn't mentioned the other slew of, things that have been going on in their lives.
So another lady, or I guess a lady. Exactly. Clowns keep making it about Will and Jada when Chris Rock is outdated. Anti-black buffoonery goes way too far. I can see why you would consider some of his jokes to be anti-black. Kind of going to the comment of the Minstrel show.
Yeah. So I guess when you asked me about the racist joke, yes. I would. I don't know if I would go as far as saying, oh, racist or he's racist, but I would definitely say it's very anti-black.
And that comment was in reference to another person's comment that said, this is the Chris Rock who said he watched Emancipation to see Will Smith get whipped. He's not a hero. He shouldn't be made out to be one.
Oof.
I think that was a comedic joke that did not land. People like to... That is a problem with today's era is people like to take the comments of comedians and turn them into something it really is not meant to be. They're not politicians. They're not they make jokes.
They make jokes, and I think today's society is also a little bit too sensitive. I still stand by he is very anti-black in his comments, and I would never pay to see him again. I do appreciate you taking me though.
I didn't have.
We didn't know that's what we were walking
into.
Yeah. Yes.
All right, so here's another comment. It says, Chris Rock now relies on voice inflection and personal attacks. Gone are the political and cultural introspectives, truths that he was so masterful at. Same with Chappelle. Oh, I don't agree with that statement. It's not Pryor. It's not Murphy. It's not Carlin. He's a caricature of his former self.
I would argue that maybe he didn't have that kind of talent to begin with as a live stage comedian.
Well, when you talk to older people, they said that Chris Rock was stellar on stage.
Which might have been why he was there, or why those audiences were there rather, the older couples that we saw, because maybe in his heyday. So fine, I would say I did not know, although now thinking back because we went to a number of shows, in the past couple of years, and we did have a warning. When he went to from the Dave Chappelle documentary screening, when he was called on stage, he bombed. He didn't know what to say. He couldn't speak. So that was but it also had been right after COVID, to be fair. But my point is that maybe if Dave Chappelle had called him to come and participate in a live show, he thought that he was able to do it. So if he wasn't a good comedian, he probably wouldn't have been called for that.
Yeah, I don't think there's any excuse for that. I've never seen a high-profile comedian bomb that badly. That was bad. I mean, that's and the fact that they kept it in the documentary is hilarious to me.
Yeah.
'Cause it's like, I've never seen somebody who's supposed to be, on the pantheon of top comedians of his specific generation to stink that poorly. Even if you've been out of the game for a couple of years, you should be able to run off a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, you look like you've never done comedy before.
I was just about to say, yes, it was like someone who, that was the first time they've been on any stage, and they had stage fright because we didn't even get a chance for him to have a poor joke. He didn't have any jokes. He didn't speak. He was so shy, and then Dave had to come and save him, and then he had to make up a bit. And I thought that was actually a joke. Like, he was pretending to be stage fright, like, oh, I don't know what to say, guys. And then I realized, oh, no, he didn't actually know what to say, and he had nothing on the sheet of paper in front of him. And then Dave Chappelle saved it, like I said, coming up on stage, and then they called Kevin Hart or someone and started making it funny, and then he got off. But he never did a set.
No.
So, anyways, that was our little warning.
So we had another comment. The problem is not that Rock made jokes about young people or transgender people or women or Duchess Meghan, even though, why are you calling her Duchess Meghan? She doesn't have that title anymore. That's a side note. It's that he made bad jokes about them. Chris Rock is not funny. He acted like an old white man complaining about wokeness and black women.
That's funny. I'm sorry.
Isn't that
That's
hilarious?
funny.
That's good, right?
Funny. Some people are just really in their feelings. That's hilarious.
Straight back.
I think they might be referring to when he said the thing about people are just seeking attention these days. Something like that. I don't know.
Which that was an actual legit point.
Yeah.
I think the black woman thing is probably more in reference to Jada and Megan. The jokes on those two.
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't remember specific jokes about black women.
Yes.
I remember specific jokes about those two people.
Yeah.
But not black women at large.
Yes, but I think right now people are on, what is it called? The hunt, basically, for anything that is said about black women. They are going to use it to spin it and say that whoever was speaking is attacking black women. So it's kind of like another group that I won't mention, but anytime you mention them, anytime you mention black women now, it's going to be changed into something, unless you say exactly the rhetoric or commentary that they would like to hear. Queen, beautiful, amazing.
Yeah, and I would like for you guys to put in the comment section if there was a joke, if you guys could write it in the comment section.
Yeah.
Then that way, we could reference back to it. But I don't, just off the memory, I don't remember that. Here's another one. Why is Chris Rock still talking about the slap? Now this tweet right here is interesting because again, he did a whole tour, and I don't think people understand how specials work. Right? Typically the comedian goes on tour to flesh out the jokes that he wants to be featured in the actual special. So he'll go to different cities and test things out, and then when he's like, okay, I think I know I want these set of jokes, right? Then he'll say, all right, we're going to do the special in X city, right? And then he'll do the same jokes, but it's at that point it's supposed to be refined,
Right.
right? And that's supposed to be also mark the end of your tour, because once your Netflix video is released, you can't say those jokes anymore. It's over.
Yeah.
Right.
And apparently they did this one in some form of a live Netflix video. Or the first live Netflix one. But you're right, at the end of the tour. So he's already done it multiple times.
Yeah, he's done.
As we said, we've seen it, the same bit.
Right.
We didn't watch it again for this because we already remember it.
Now, you mentioned before we actually started recording the show that it coincides with the anniversary of the Oscars.
Yes, the
so
Oscars
that is
should
a
be
very
tonight.
interesting note. So,
let us know if you're watching it or you watched it, depending on when you watch this video.
Yeah. That was interesting.
I thought that was clever timing.
Yeah. Here's another one. It says Chris Rock's selective outrage, right titled, but wrong comedian. This special was not funny. I think Chris Rock needs Jesus and some serious counseling. Chris Rock is 60 years old, needs to change his formula and stop making a mockery of the black community to be funny, question mark? I don't think the question mark is supposed to be there. But
yeah. Maybe to be funny? I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, that it kind of goes back to the memory of the show that we watched, and we didn't come out there thinking that was a really great show. His age thing, I don't know about age. I think at this point, he's probably lost whatever magic that you have. Like, Dave Chappelle was able to recapture some of his funny in a different way.
I said he's a natural.
He's a natural, but and his funny is different than his funny from the past. Like, it's not the same funny.
Okay.
Right, I would say that his old stuff, "Killing Me Softly," it's still a whole. It's probably the best one out of his specials. His new stuff is okay, but some people think it's great. But I'm comparing it to his old work, and it's like, you were much funnier back then.
Wow.
But that's just my personal opinion. So here's another tweet. Someone call the police. Chris Rock just killed Will Smith on stage. Everyone called him a bitch, but he chose to hit me. But my mama raised me, you don't fight in front of white people. Mic drop. It was fantastic. So this guy actually liked the joke. He looks like he might be Hispanic. Some type of Hispanic.
Yes, I imagine there's a number of people who, you want to see the drama continue. It's entertaining, right? Will Smith did that. Yeah, it might be old news, but then it's new news because it's out on the Netflix special. What did Chris Rock say? I'm imagining millions of people did not go to his show. So now to see him actually speak back, I think if I had not gone to the show, I might have been like, oh, I wonder what he said back. And so.
Yeah, but I guess let's talk about the last part of this tweet. The fighting in front of. Huh?
Okay, yeah. Can you read it again?
The not fighting in front of white people thing, because that was also something that we did see a lot of people make comments on Twitter. And your mom raising you not to fight in front of white folks, I have several issues with that statement. Issue one is it gives the impression that white people are some type of privileged class that you have to sharpen yourself up when you're around white people. I was like, well, the fighting in front of people thing, I couldn't fight in front of my grandma. Yeah. Right? Like, it's like you're supposed to have decorum everywhere you go.
Yeah.
That's not a specific white people thing.
No.
So what is like, are you just acting crazy in other times? And you're only cordial and actually like behaved in front of white people? And if that's the case, why?
Yes. And I would say yes for Chris Rock, apparently. I would tell him to keep that to himself and his family if that's how your family moves. But don't put that on black people. Yeah,
that's a really weird comment to make.
Yeah, that's
the connotations on that is strange.
Yeah.
Because, and also this idea that white people are some type of special group of people. Why aren't you special?
And that would be another thing where it was interesting to watch himself make himself a clown. And someone mentioned in one of the tweets you read.
Yeah.
In front of people in general, but just for white people, it's not a good look.
It's not.
I was embarrassed for him.
Yeah. So, to me, that wasn't a fantastic joke or a fantastic comment. That sucked. But this dude's not black. He's some type of Hispanic. And so, maybe that's his audience, right?
Yeah.
He looks like a wider end of Hispanic. So,
yeah. And I think some people it went over their head because it's not to you. You don't know the connotations. You don't know the historical thing. And, things can be funny and be from history and like, oh, it's the right time to make the joke. But some stuff just is not funny at all. So, and the special thing, if you want to think white people are more special or any group is more, is better than you, then that's your problem. But don't put that with black people.
No, and if you're a black person that does think that way, then that's an internal problem that needs to be worked out.
Yes, so I would. Yes, the person who mentioned that he should get counseling, I would accept that. Yeah, he should.
Well, no, the person mentioning it is not black. He's a Hispanic dude or some type of Hispanic.
Yeah. Okay.
He's not even in the community.
He's not in the community at all. Yeah.
He's the one saying it's a fantastic joke, which, if we remember, a lot of those jokes that didn't land on the black people in the audience, the white people were laughing. Like they were going nuts. I'm like, what are y'all laughing at? This is not even funny.
It's not funny.
But, maybe the joke wasn't for me. Here's another comment. Will definitely help Chris Rock's career, and that smack was the highlight of his career in years. Stand-up was trash and corny. Chris Rock is a loser.
Do you want to go first on this one? You give the
I'll
my
give you
tweet?
the honors.
Okay, thank you. The last part is just people being mad. He's a loser. Reminds me of Trump.
I'm sorry.
But can you repeat that first part again?
The name Will Smith.
Yes.
Will definitely helped Chris Rock's career.
Okay, there we go. Sorry, I almost lost my train of thought. I think it helped his pocket for 2022. I think that, I don't know for the longevity, for the long term, that did not help Chris Rock's career. It did put him back in the spotlight, so I understand maybe that's where the tweet is coming from. Mm-hmm. And it helped to sell the tickets for the show, because if you notice, the show began in February. The Oscars, or no, it may not have begun in February, but last year it came after the Oscars. They planned it and everything. He was able to sell tickets out because people were hoping, as we've mentioned, that he would mention something about getting slapped. So I think that was the gold part that sold the tickets for his thing. But after the special and the content of the special, having a few nuggets doesn't carry another show or his career. So I would ask this commenter or tweeter, what career? Like, is he going to do... Well, I mean, maybe he's gotten the attention of Hollywood to sell more films so he can go and do another caricature of black people or a token character. Like, I'm not going to watch his things. Because I personally don't support any person of any race, but especially black people that use themselves or use other black people trying to put black people down in any form of fashion. I don't appreciate the anti-blackness. I don't need you to be pro-black and, storming the streets and doing whatever Black Lives Matter, which that's a faux organization anyways. But, yeah, Chris Rock is just not it. He's not that funny. I objectively like comedy a lot, and there are so many comedians to watch that are not him. So, shout outs to Bill Burr.
Okay. And I think the last tweet that we have, it's a 3-part tweet. Some lady, bless her heart, says, remember, Chris Rock punched down on Jada over her alopecia condition. Should I read the whole thing, or should I just break it down and leave room for comments? Or should I just read the whole thing?
You can read the whole thing, because we'll see. And we'll put it on the screen for y'all to see.
Remember, Chris Rock punched down on Jada over her alopecia condition. All the deflecting he is doing, bringing up entitlements, so gaslighting. He knows that the world hates a black woman with sexual agency. So he has to make that the topic, not how he violated and humiliated her.
Chris Rock violated her?
Yes.
I think we've lost the definition of terms. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have had you read out loud. Yeah, that's not a violation by using words. But then again, they are using violating and violence when people, the response to people using certain words. Yeah. Oh, that was violence. So
there's a lot to unpack.
There's a lot.
There's
you
a lot
go
to
ahead
unpack.
and take this one, please.
All right. So we already made the comment about alopecia earlier in this episode, so I don't need to rehash that. The G.I. Jane joke. Deflecting with the entanglement issue. I think that's not a deflection. The entanglement was a real thing.
Yes, it was a real thing, and it was unfortunate to watch, and they shouldn't have filmed that live on the Red Table Talk, especially if she was not going to apologize. So Chris Rock wasn't wrong in that aspect of it.
So Daryl Washington, right? He made the comment. Just fast forwarding here, you can't cover up a person's errors with one joke. That's essentially what his point was, right? And that's 100% facts. Before I go into my other comment, I will like to finish the last tweet from TP that said, "Can someone please define punch down?" Chris made a comment about Jada wearing green at the Oscars and said that she could star in the next G.I. Jane movie. How is that making fun of her alopecia? Jada is an actress who wore green, parentheses, army, and her head was shaved. So, yeah, that kind of echoes the comments that we made earlier about that specific joke.
Absolutely.
She says that he knows that the world hates black women with sexual agency. So that I understand, right? Because I'm a layman, right? I'm not that bright. Sexual agency means that I can cheat on my husband with my son's best friend. Is that sexual agency?
I can't. I was gonna say I can't respond, but I can't.
She's a free liberated woman, right? And free liberated woman means I can have sex with whoever I want, whenever. That includes my son's best friend.
And that is why Chris Rock was mad at her and did a punching down. That's
right?
what it was? Is that what we're going with?
Am I lying? People in the comment section, please help me out, right? Because I don't mind to admit that I'm wrong if I am. For all of you, for the women out there who have sons, is it okay in any context to have sex with your son's best friend? Or your son's friend? It doesn't have to be a best friend. Just your son's friend.
I'll just pose the question to the ladies who do support this. I mean, I do want you to comment. But if you support this, just think about how, I shouldn't even say society or West, whoever, just think of the response if a man proudly boasted about having sex with his daughter's friend.
Yeah.
I'll leave it there. Who's staying in the house, who actually has mental health issues, and then when confronted says he was trying to heal her.
Yes. I was healing her through my penis.
Hey, I mean, people are just saying whatever they want to say and doing what they want to do now. Yeah.
Makes no sense at all. So
call a spade, people.
And I'll even go a step further on this one in a related but unrelated note. There's a weird show on TLC. I think it's called MILF Manor.
Oh, dear God.
In one of the episodes, it was an Asian woman with her son, right? If you guys who don't know this show, it's really bad. It's horrific. It's a bunch of moms who have 20-year-old sons, and they are at this place, and it's a dating show, and the moms are dating the other mom's sons, right? It's really weird. It should not exist, but that's what it is. Anyway, they play this game, and they're supposed to guess the thing that their mom did, and the Asian kid got it wrong, right? And what she did was she had sex with his best friend. And the reason why I bring this up is because the level of destruction and the range of emotions that went through that guy's face was everything you needed to know. Like, his whole world seemed to just shatter.
Okay, like the secret is I slept with your best friend.
Did you know that? No! Does it look like I knew that?
This is something I never saw coming. I did not expect this at all. 0%.
Shit.
I thought I knew my mom really well. I don't know what to think about it.
Look, I don't need an explanation. I'm a little traumatized right now, I'm not gonna lie. We thought Ryan was a savage. Yeah. We're all in shock.
Like, his brain seemed to be malfunctioning. Like, he was like trying to think and process, but the brain was like, yo, it's not computing.
Yeah. And the mom, up until that point, was laughing along with everyone else of how funny it was. And then she realized what she had done. Or maybe she didn't realize what she had done, but she saw the effect, like you just said, of what happened to her son in that moment. And now the effects of what she had done in the past.
Yeah, like she maybe she didn't think it was a big deal. And then when he found out, and like his whole, again, the dude was going into malfunction mode.
Disbelief, denial,
yeah.
the loyalty or not lack of loyalty from his friend, the confusion. And
then he's asking questions like, well, did you have sex with all my friends? Did every time somebody came over, you banged them? Like, he's going through like, how many dudes did you sleep with? Are all my friends banging my mom?
I just don't even understand how that would even be appropriate on any level.
It shouldn't be. It should never be. And that's what I'm saying. Like, we can't, going back to this tweet, right? That is not sexual agency. I don't know where these women are getting these ideas from, but they're way out of left field.
Sons are off limits, or sons' friends are off limits. Period.
Yeah. Cheating, non-cheating, like you could be a single mom. Because the cheating thing is one aspect, right? You shouldn't cheat on your spouse. That's a different part of the equation, right? You added this part in addition to the person that you cheated with is your son's friend. That's for me is the bigger part of this problem.
Oh, me as well.
Right? Like that's where it's like you have serious decision-making problems as a person.
Yeah. And for all this rhetoric about protecting women, what about the young boys?
Right. And then you went up on your TV show, or I guess your Facebook show, and you looked your husband in the eye and you said it was an entanglement.
With a smirk. That eventually became a laugh, as you saw how it was destroying your husband.
Right. Now, what I would have actually liked to see is not you talking to Will. I want to know what kind of words would you conjure up in front of Jaden?
Oh, yeah, the son.
Hey, sorry, son, but you shouldn't bring fine dudes into the house.
This is your fault.
This is your fault.
I mean, after all, we're not taking accountability, so...
You brought him here. You know I like light-skinned thugs.
I'm surprised that she didn't bring him on the show. Maybe she asked. Maybe she asked for him to go and he refused to be on her show about that. Because I've seen the sister has been on the show and so has Will, but I don't know if her son has.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have gone on there if I was him in that situation. So I mean that's not gaslighting. That's not a deflection. That's a serious problem. And if you think that attacking somebody who has the moral deficiency to think it's okay to have sex with your son's friends, if I hate black women for attacking somebody for doing that, then maybe I do hate black women.
Well, because, I mean, if that's what they're describing as sexual agency, then I'm like, then where does alopecia come in?
Where does the alopecia come in?
It's not even about the alopecia then. I mean, you're saying this, you're trying to promote the sexual agency. Who's stopping you guys? You guys are doing whatever you want to do.
She is doing whatever she wants.
And those type of black women are. They just do what they want to do.
And when you do what you want, people are also free to make whatever comments they feel like they need to make.
Exactly.
And that's you've crossed a lot of lines.
Yes.
And so whenever you do that, you open yourself up to comment.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean I don't hate black women. I don't think the people who are making those comments hate black women. I think the problem is every time that somebody is doing something wild or crazy and somebody calls them out on it, you want to go into defense mode. And we got to stop defending these people.
Yeah.
Just because they're a black woman doesn't mean they need to be defended. No, if you do bad things, you should be called out.
Yeah.
And that's a bad thing.
It is a bad thing. I don't know what's happening to society's morals, and I don't really care if people are following God or not with the Holy Text. I would want them to, but basically the Holy Text tells you right there that that's not something you're supposed to be doing.
No. So what we need to do is we have a couple of conclusions here. I think the main conclusion is Chris Rock is not funny. I think that's probably the main conclusion that we can come up with.
Agreed.
I think the second thing is we shouldn't make money off of minstrelling and making fun of black people. We should, however, be free to make comments on society at large and people who do things that are either controversial or that are dumb. His comments on Megan, just to tie a bow on that, I didn't think the joke was that bad. I think he had a decent point to make as far as, her issues are really just in-law issues. I don't really see an issue with that one. I do see that every time someone makes any kind of comment about Meghan Markle, black women typically try to go into defense mode on that instead of just listening to what the person is actually saying and thinking about it for a second. Meghan, I don't think is a ride or die for black people. So, the amount of defense that you guys are going for her, I don't think she has that in return. She uses race to her advantage. As far as I'm concerned, she's a white woman. So, that's just my opinion on that. Shout outs to Too Short. But, yeah, that's just, I'm going to leave it at that. Is he a good comedian? I think maybe Chris Rock is better with scripted work. Maybe that's his wheelhouse. Maybe the stand-up comedy thing is not his thing. Am I going to pay for another show of his in the future? No, not really. it is what it is. So I hope he made his paper. You got anything you want to add on that?
You said it all.
Okay. Well, guys, that's our show for today. Like and subscribe. And if you have any suggestions for future episodes, let us know in the comment section below.
We'll see you next time.
Let's get it.